Thank you very much for coming and joining us. As I say, ALP Synergy Limited, we're delivering this project on behalf of the Natural Environment Research Council. I will probably say NERC from now on, but they're part of UK Research and Innovation, UKRI. So this is all about every community needs nature, and it's about connecting beyond the usual voices. Right, thank you. So, given the topic, I thought I should share something a little bit personal. So we're looking to inspire people about the environment and about nature. So at least one person here will recognise that view, but that is the River Mersey. So I was actually born in a maternity hospital, which is just at the back of that picture, and I grew up about 200 metres away from that river. So you've probably already worked out how old I am. At that point in time, the River Mersey was the dirty man of Europe. You can see the pollution there. It's not a great photo because it's hard to find old photos of a polluted river. But, it doesn't look that great. That foam used to blow around in the streets. It wasn't a nice river. What's amazing is that The Guardian, in the last couple of days, either this morning or in the last couple of days, have published an article saying that the salmon and trout are back in the River Mersey. So, I was inspired by the river and it's doing very well. But it's not just me. That is me up there. So that's me on a beach in Mumbai, helping a lot of other people collect litter and dig it out of the sand and remove it. You've also got Liz and Vic. Vic is here on the call as well today. So they live in the Isles of Scilly. So you can imagine what sort of fun they had last weekend with the storm. You've also got Sam, who's part of our team there, who loves carp fishing. So he's got nothing better in his life than to go and sit by a lake. And you've got myself and Leslie at the top there in a photo. That was actually taken by Gordon Ramsay. So we were trying to pose and do a photo, and he walked up and took the camera and took a nice photo. So that's our claim to fame. And down in the bottom, you can't quite see it, but that's Josh. He's our sixth member of the team. He's in the waterfall with his girlfriend there. So we're all connected and passionate about being outdoors and engaged with nature. We're a small business. We're based in Chepstow, in the Isles of Scilly, and in Oxfordshire. And some of the people who have joined here tonight know us much better for delivering support to businesses. So we deliver economic projects, but we also deliver environmental and social impact projects and programs. So that's us. A little bit about NERC then. So NERC's mission and priorities. So their main mission is to tackle global environmental challenges, increase societal resilience, and enable sustainable economic growth. And that, I've shortened it a little bit, but that's absolutely the hub and the nub of what we're talking about. And the NERC Forward Look, which was published in the summer of last year, sets out three broad priorities: to deliver growth through the environment, to ensure society is resilient to environmental change and the impacts of that change, and to support emerging industries and enable smarter regulation. So those three bullet points are really important because that's where these projects come from. There are three projects. We're delivering two of them. So the projects are all under the programme of connecting people with nature. It's all about engaging broader audiences with environmental challenges. And we're delivering two projects: Nature Secure UK and Nature Smart UK. And we're delivering them in synergy together. So Nature Secure, as it says on there, is all about engaging people with environmental security. So things like environmental change, things like the storm we had last week, things about the critical system resilience, the lack of water that's going on in the southeast at the moment. Nature Smart is all about engaging people with responsible innovation, potentially a more complicated topic to get across to people who've not really engaged with the subject before, but the projects are going to try to do that anyway. And there's lots of scientific and professional stuff written about these projects, but in simple terms, our simple project mission is to attract unusual voices. So those people who would not normally be engaged, whether that underrepresented because maybe of things like ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, age, disability, geographical location. people who wouldn't normally engage. And then number two, to raise their awareness of key environmental priorities. And then number three, to increase their appetite for engaging, including potentially with them doing practical actions. And number four, collating their views and feedback on the project themes. So that's our simple mission. The reason there's a map there of the UK is because we've set out an ambitious plan where we want to engage communities in England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. And we're delighted that we've got representation from all of those four nations on our virtual board. It probably is also worth mentioning that there is a specific focus on young people aged 10 to 25. Now, that's not at the exclusion of others. We're obviously looking to attract unusual voices across any age, but we are particularly also focusing on young people aged 10 to 25. So our projects, those Nature Smart and Nature, I've got a little button in my screen, I just need to approve. Nature Smart and Nature Secure, they're being delivered through a series of national webinars and local workshops. As it says there, the national webinars are about sharing knowledge, building awareness, connecting groups so that they feel part of something bigger. And we'll have experts presenting about topics on those project themes. And then the local workshops will be delivered, as you would expect, locally. So we will be delivering some ourselves, but we're also looking for community leaders who are prepared to take a bit of a punt and deliver some of our workshops. And we're making them interesting, engaging, but also quite simple so that you don't need to be an expert to deliver them. So it could be a scout leader who's here today who says, right, great, I'll take that workshop and I'll work with my group of scouts and get them engaged in this topic. So we will have a menu of workshop plans, and we will also offer an induction for community leaders who want to deliver some of those workshops. So at this point then, this is where we want to hear about you. What about you and your connection with nature? Now, I'm going to share a little poll, which, if Zoom behaves, will pop up for everyone. And you can answer the poll, and then I can share the results. And we can see what's happening. So hopefully everyone can see this poll on their screen now. So hopefully everybody can see the results here now. So, we wanted to understand who was here tonight. And I guess at a simple level, you could say, well, you're not our target audience. You're not unheard voices because you're all very well informed, or most people are. There's three people who say basic. I know a little, but not in depth. That doesn't mean this is not worth doing. That means that you're potentially our community leaders, or you're potentially our connectors to other community leaders. Which is good. Question two, how often do you spend time in nature? Less than once a month and about once a month. Nobody's filled that in. So everybody gets out at least some of the time, which is great. And 25 people get out several times a week or most days, which is brilliant. What usually motivates you to take part? Well, this is really useful for us. So 28% are interested in improving their own health and well-being. One is socializing and being part of a community. 33% are out to help wildlife and protect nature. 11% around climate action. So all good there. And then the last one is a free text thing. So we don't share that. We'll have that, and that will be really useful for us. So that's brilliant. If anybody didn't manage to finish anything or wants to share anything, please do throw it in the chat. We save the chat, we save all of this. So it's all really useful information for us. Our timeline is, we're here at the launch webinar tonight. We've been working on this for a couple of weeks now. We are aiming to engage 60 community leaders that will support us with the project by the end of January. That's our ambitious target. So 30 for each of the projects, Nature Smart and Nature Secure. During early February, we'll be supporting those community leaders with some online training, some videos, some simple worksheets. For instance, Liz and Vic are going to be going into schools on the Isles of Scilly. We're going into schools close to where we are, and we're going to be working with the students and hopefully training some of the older students to do workshops with the younger students. But we're looking for as many different sorts of community leaders to engage as possible. During February and March, we'll have our schedule of national webinars, and at the moment we're engaging with different speakers and we're scheduling the dates for those. So they'll be published on Eventbrite so that anybody can engage with them. So another form of attracting and sharing knowledge and expertise. And during February and March, our ambition is that the community leaders we've engaged will deliver some of the workshops that we've planned. And hopefully we'll engage around 300 people. 300 unusual voices who wouldn't normally engage. The project will largely finish by the end of March, so April will be wrapping up, collecting some community case studies, things that can be promoted and voices can be amplified, and also doing what we can to share the learning and insight that's been gained with everybody who supported the project. I've also put there what next. We would hope, whilst this is a short life project, we want to do more of this. We want to encourage more voices. The workshops that we produce, the templates, people will be able to carry on using them as long as they want to. So all of those materials will be openly shared. So just very, very high level then, the topics being covered as part of Nature Secure are nature and biodiversity protection, climate awareness and action, food, water and resource security, environmental risk and resilience, environmental justice and equity. So we'll be having national webinars that connect with those topics, but are open and easy enough for anyone to engage with and to get some value from. And then the Nature Smart topics will be ethical innovation and AI, emerging green technologies, nature tech and environmental monitoring, data literacy and evidence-based thinking, circular economy and sustainable design, and social inclusion, social innovation and youth leadership. So again, high-level titles for national webinars that will be delivered. The workshops will then have a connection, but if you miss a national webinar, it won't mean that you can't engage with a local workshop on that topic. So that's our Nature Secure and Nature Smart topics. That's the end of my slides, apart from one to introduce our panel, where we actually open up and we have more of a conversation. We have 3 of our virtual advisory board who have kindly agreed to join the panel. So we've got Neil Kelly, who's here from the Warrington Wolves Foundation. That picture is of Neil from 2020, I think, when he was doing a charity walk. We have Shauna Kelpie here from the Community Foundation in Northern Ireland. And hopefully you can read on that sign, but it says, "Welcome to Acorn Farm." We might hear about that. And we've got Joshua Adeyemi here, who is the co-founder of Black Scottish Adventurers. And I've pinched that picture off his Instagram. So if you don't follow Joshua yet, I encourage you to. He's having a load of fun out in the environment and encouraging more people to engage with it. While I'm pinning everyone else, Neil, I'm going to ask you the first question then, because you've openly admitted you don't know a lot about environment and nature, and you might have been that one person on that survey. But you work with people who don't see themselves as environmentalists all of the time. Introduce yourself, please, and tell me, why are you getting involved in Every Community Needs Nature?
Oh, so hello everyone, and thanks for the invite. Yeah, I suppose I am that unusual voice with the unusual Warrington accent as well from the north. Well, I suppose why I want to get involved in it is we are underrepresented and undereducated and around knowledge. And I'm going to be honest with everybody. I actually wrote an environmental sustainability action plan for the rugby club, and it's in a drawer and nobody's actually done anything with it. But one of the things that I'm excited about to get involved in this typical thing is, I think Nelson Mandela did something. He always sticks with me, and he brought about change within the nation by using the power of sport. And I think it does speak a language that certainly has helped me within our work to have a real impact. in our community as well. We have had some very innovative changes to people's hearts and minds because of the power of the club within the town, utilising the badge, which really means so much to the people of the town, but also the players that inspire and give them a message, to tell they have a real impact.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. Shauna, please introduce yourself and tell me what does every community needs nature mean in your community?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, well, I'm Shauna Kelby. I work with the Community Foundation for Northern Ireland, and I'm based in Derry in the northwest corner of Northern Ireland. And the whole title of that, of the whole topic about what you're talking is very important to us because we're situated in a border city region, so we straddle two jurisdictions, but we're in a very geographically remote part of Northern Ireland. And whilst it's beautiful and looks great, a lot of people feel really disconnected to nature, because they've other things on their minds and they've other priorities, and being in nature may not be that. So a lot of our work is with very grassroots community organisations across the north, but I work specifically here. So I'm aware of the issues that people are living through, and bringing people back on board around nature and the environment came to a head really in 2017, 2018. We had floods in Derry and it wiped out an awful lot of community organisations out of the blue. No one was experiencing it. Everybody thought climate change was somewhere else. And when it came home, everyone just sat up and thought about it. So that's kind of what it motivates us, because we're aware of the vulnerability of our communities. We're aware that a lot of people just don't have the access, expertise, or the know-how how to do anything about it. So that's why we're getting involved.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you. Joshua, please introduce yourself. And I think I heard you say earlier that you have a community of 7,000 now. So yeah, how does nature and connecting communities with nature feature in what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. My name is Joshua Adeyemi again, and I'm a co-founder of Black Scottish Adventurers, and we're a community of over 7,000 people now, and we run monthly adventures to be able to get people into nature. I'll just give a brief history about myself. So I moved to Scotland over, I think, about 15 years ago now. And when I came to Scotland, I didn't know anything about nature or the outdoors. But when I moved to Scotland, I quickly learned about the access to responsible roaming, the right to responsible roaming that we have here in Scotland. And that transformed my world. So spending time in nature and discovering the outdoors, I quickly realized that there was lack of representation within the space. So I felt, what could I do? Because personally, I don't like being, should I say, the only black person in a place that I shouldn't be, if you get what I mean. So I felt, what can I do to support folks to get out more? So that led to the birth of Black Scottish Adventurers. And the important thing about that is loads of organizations and communities and various charities have worked so hard to support particularly members of that community to engage and connect with nature. But there's been loads of challenges along the way, but the way I've sort of like structured things at Black Scottish Adventurers, I think really helped loads of people engage better with nature. And the important thing about that is we'll be able to educate people about the climate crisis that we're in, the challenges that we're having, and help people understand that the outdoors is truly for them. So a lot of our members came to Scotland looking for a better life, but that better life quickly transforms or translates into, having a nice car, having a nice house. But there's so much more to better life beyond that. So for me personally and for my community, the goal is to help them understand the importance of spending time with nature, how it benefits both their physical and mental well-being. And the hope of that as well is to help them understand the challenges that we're having and how to address those challenges within the natural world.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so some specific questions then. So Neil, you've mentioned the Warrington Wolves Foundation and the Warrington Wolves badge as a trusted gateway into the communities. How have you used that trust and visibility to open up the conversations with people who might not usually get engaged?
Yeah, so Again, I think it's the badge and it's also the players that really open up that avenue for us, because the team and the club, it really has a sense of belonging in the town. Some, real ones that we've worked on that's really changed hearts and minds is actually a rugby league club, talking the arts and dance. And we had young players from our academy team under 19s being taught ballet by the Royal Academy. And other examples where we've tried to combine different things to get the right messages across, tackling issues such as knife crime, which has been on the rise in Warrington as well, working with the police force. We've had our players going out on knife hunts. We've talked about our players doing training within different clubs to do with bleed kits. And I think that kind of positivity that comes from the players gets the message across. We tackled 6,000 children within all of our 68 primary schools that we have. And if we say jump, they jump. We give them a sticker, they stick it wherever we want to stick it as well. Education comes from a different planet with the rugby club, I think. And I think we can get some real good messages across with some activity. We can really see that change with them young people that you're talking about. And we do tackle some of them youngsters. But if you see this young human, much nicer looking than me, he's a beautiful human. He's our head coach. He won Celebrity SAS in Australia. Now, if he says something, people listen. And they're the huge personalities within our community that can make a difference. So, yeah, anyone who wants to put a pair of tights on with me and do some ballet in nature, then there you go, Ant.
Fantastic, thank you. And hopefully we're already illustrating that we realized if we wanted to reach unusual voices, then we needed people that weren't normally just talking about nature and environment all the time. So yeah, thanks for being involved, Neil. Shauna, you mentioned about the Community Foundation and you're supporting a range of different projects. What are you seeing about how nature projects can tackle some of those other issues that you've mentioned, whether that's isolation or poverty or given your geography, the division challenges?
Yeah. Well, the main project that we are looking at the environment through the lens of that is the Acorn Farm project. And the Acorn is nothing new. People have been doing it forever, but we're maybe a couple of generations ago, people grew food at home. We've moved away from that. And then everyone started doing community gardens and community growing, which is all very good. But here, community can be a bit divisive. Even the term can be a bit off-putting. So we went for a different approach, and so we tackle work directly with families and households. So we go into the house and we go into the household and we bring kits, growing kits, food growing kits, support it with a horticulturalist support, because everybody starts off with these great ambitions, but they fall by the wayside. And, they have a disaster with their carrots or a disaster with their spuds, and there's nobody, it just turns you off. So we've got a great horticulturist who works alongside that. And the way we approached it is that we just figured sometimes with environmental work, there's a certain image of people who are very well skilled, knowledgeable, know what they're doing. And most people just aren't like that. They want to do something, but they don't know what it is. So we decided through food would be the choice for climate action. Choosing your food, understanding where your food comes from, growing some of it would be one step. So we work with 400 families every year. And by the time we're finished, which is next year, we'll have 1,000 families. So within that family and household situation, obviously there's more than one person there. So it's quite a big impact for that particular program. Plus then we bring the cooking in there so that I can cook. Program runs alongside that. Plus we work with community gardens and allotments. Even though they're great growers, they might not know about climate change. Then we work within the local food system, and then we work with schools and education and pieces like that. So it's and then we're having a capital build. So it's a seismic kind of project. It's a game changer, as people describe it, because it's a focus, and it's going to be a focus on within a very urban environment, kind of the value of rural life. So, I suppose the division has always been A, the image of what environmental work is, and then B, that it's only for the rural community. And everybody in the rural community must know how to grow things, and they don't. So it's bringing all of those, raising awareness around that, and kind of blasting these kind of misconceptions about things, and then giving people access at home, in their back garden, in the yard, on their patio, wherever it is. But you've got somebody holding their hand the whole way through. So that's the health piece as well, I think is important. There's been a big rise here in this part of the world with pre-diabetes diagnosis, and people with those sort of long-term health issues. The climate change and the increase in heat does impact them. So one of the solutions is maybe, looking at sustainable food choices as a way to drive down some of the climate. So that's where we're going at. We're just looking at it, well, how you live in your life. Can we help? Can food choice help? And it usually can.
Fantastic. So, I mean, given those projects, what nuggets of advice as a project convener have you got for us and for anyone else here who's, trying to reach out more into their community about, at the hub of designing stuff? Because we're still at an early stage. There'll be lots of other people thinking about designing future programs. What's your advice around that?
Well, we just decided it was for everybody, so we didn't target anybody. So we didn't say it's means tested, it's this test, it's whatever. We just said it's a first come, first served basis. If you want to learn to grow food, this is this short application, apply. But then we decided we would do the electoral ward areas. So we have a division, we have a kind of split across all the electoral wards, so everybody's represented. But it's not targeted. It's not, it's for your economic background, it's for your profile, it's for whatever. It's if you want to do this, then come and do it. I think that's helped. That's been part of the success.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Joshua, I'm going to come back to you then. So, you've already mentioned some of the success of Black Scottish Adventurers, and we've had a conversation about some of the different mountains that I've seen you up on Instagram, and I've been jealous. But what sort of barriers have you seen over the last few years of doing Black Scottish Adventurers that are still there and that need to be overcome?
Yeah, speaking of barriers, I think some of the main ones, I think the first one I would like to touch on is just education. It's just people being aware that that space actually does belong to them, because ultimately, when people look at the outdoor space, they feel, oh yeah, maybe particularly maybe young people, they feel like, oh, it's for older people that go out there and enjoy time outdoors, hill walking and all that stuff. And again, some of them or most of them don't even understand the benefits that are attributed to spending time in the outdoors as well. So when it comes to the barriers, I think education is a very big part of it. First of all, making folks understand that that space belongs to you and you can go out and enjoy that space or those places responsibly. And I think another huge one also is access. People being able to get to these places. That's a massive challenge, particularly for our members at BSA. So the initiative I set up for that was to set up a carpooling initiative, and I think that transformed how we're able to get people into nature. So carpooling is a big part of it. It helps us reduce our carbon emission, and it also helps us get more people out into nature. So back to education again, things to wear, what to do when you're outdoors, places to go, all of that. So I think those are some of the big challenges that I would say our member faced, and we've been able to work closely with them to help them tackle those challenges and those barriers.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right. Well, I think I've covered the questions that I'd written down, but I'd welcome, is there any questions in the chat for any of the panel members?
There isn't any yet, but if people would like to share a question or raise your hand and we can take you off mute, either way.
There's definitely some experience in the room. We know that from the poll earlier on, but so Barbara, you've shared you've shared a view that, we need to make sure you get local people involved from the start. And, if they can input into the project, then hopefully they'll get their family and friends and colleagues involved as well, which is great. Any questions for our panel? If not, I'm going to ask some questions of the audience. Does anybody feel free to unmute if anybody wants to ask anything?
I'll put my camera on as well. It's Rose Hasty. I manage the Catchment Data Explorer, which is a environmental data portal. It's only applicable, unfortunately, in England. There are different portals available in Wales and Scotland. I'm not sure about Northern Ireland, unfortunately. But I was just wondering, is there anything that anyone has any thoughts on about engaging with those environmental data systems and what would make that easier for these unheard voices?
So people might not know what the Catchment Data Explorer is. Rose?
Okay, let me give you a quick rundown of that. So we have river basin management plans that are applicable in all of those countries, effectively. They are plans that we update once every 6 years, and there is lots of data that is then generated as part of those river basin management processes, things like classifications of sites within water bodies across, in my case, England, but there are, as I say, portals available from the other environmental regulators in the other home nations. And it's about classifying those water bodies so that people understand what elements in those water bodies, so things like fish or invertebrates or the plant life, how those are classified. And for most of those biological elements, it's a 5-point classification scale from high through good to moderate, bad, and poor, effectively.
So you've probably done a brilliant job of describing it all, Rose. I know a bit about what you're talking about, so I think you have. But it's probably the language. So Rose and I used to work together at the Environment Agency, so I know a lot of what the terms that you've been talking about there. But when we talk about water bodies, most members of the public haven't got a clue what we're on about. They don't know whether that's a puddle or a lake or a stream. And I think it's that level of language that we often use as professionals or experts in there, that might be a barrier to some people engaging. But definitely keen to have a chat with you and see, is there a way in which, because we're talking about monitoring and other things as one of the topics, how can we bring that in? So thank you for that.
Excellent, thank you.
There are some questions. So sorry, panel, but people want to know stuff. So Barbara's asked, what have you found as the most difficult part of working with a community project? Who wants to go first?
I can go. The most difficult part for us, it's been because we're oversubscribed every year, and then trying to figure out what we do with all the data. So initially, whenever we had the application processes out, I thought we'll operate a waiting list. And then I realized that's not going to work. I don't want to be holding on to people's data for a year or 2 years. And so trying to change that all the time and trying to keep people's momentum, not disappoint people, keep them engaged, not get them really annoyed with you, but to say, look, it's a first come, first served basis, try again next year. So from that successful point of view, that has been an issue. I think the other elements of it that have been tricky was making sure that because we've it's a 5-year project, so we've got time within it. We're on year 3.5 now, but moving into the systems change with a community background sometimes is tricky. And then gathering the data, which we have a lot. We have an independent evaluator who works alongside us, and so we do have a lot of surveys. We survey our on the I Can Grow program. We survey all of the events we do, but then bringing that data to those relevant kind of agencies that do have system change powers, making the case has been tricky, but we're making some inroads within the health system and are partnering with our local health authority on a small project using, the kind of the environment as the hook and looking at health and food. So it depends on the ambition of the community effort, but I think that's been my experience to date.
Okay, thank you. Neil, have you had any challenges in your community project?
I suppose that there's a reliance sometimes as well when you start a project on what you're delivering. We come out with a very strong message and we start delivering a very strong project. And then there comes a reliance on us doing it. What we're trying to do then is obviously keep them engaged in that project, that then it actually comes sustainable as well. Particular one was probably a few years ago, we started Women and Girls Rugby League. And on the back of that, then it became very reliant on us running them teams and the activities that we did. But then it was then maybe engaging in some of the work that I see that you hear these activators as such within the workshops, continuing to do that, but also keeping in touch with that communication. I think that's really important, and recognizing the great impact they're actually having on that and rewarding them for that.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm not going to ask everyone every question because we've got loads of questions now. Josh, you've told us lots about engaging lots of people, but have you got a few hows? How have you got those 7,000 people to engage? How do you get people to come out every month?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. I think living, I'll say, yeah, I'll use that. I'll say living by example. And something I always say is, well, this is from a personal perspective, that the outdoors, people should see people like us that engage and spend time in the outdoors, and we should shine the light and show the magic of nature. And I think I champion that very well and through my social media platforms as well. So for a lot of members of my community and beyond. So when they see me, they're like, "Oh, Josh, it looks like whatever drug Josh is taking, I'd like to take some of that." And I think that's a positive thing, and I'm really, really proud of that as well. So for our members, we utilize social media a lot to be able to show them what the outdoors is about, what nature is about, and also to be able to show them what is achievable. So by using social media, we're able to reach a lot of people. And initially, the idea was to reach, of course, Black people because those are the people we support. But by sharing our adventures and our time in nature on social media, I think we do it so well that we are able to even inspire people that are not particularly Black, people from across the world to be able to go out into nature and enjoy nature and look after it as well. So the messaging is very, very important. So we did use social media a lot. And I think the people that we are really tells a tale of the magic of nature.
Fantastic. Thank you. Another question here. So organizations, nature-focused organizations like RSPB or the Wildlife Trusts, and I think we've got some representatives probably of both of those here tonight. From the panel, what do you think conservation organisations could be doing more to help underrepresented groups engage? I guess it depends on your experience of those organisations already.
Should I?
Please, yeah.
Right. So for us at Black Social Adventurers, so I am a director of another organization called Black Professionals UK. And through my work with RSPB, we were able to partner with them. So Black Professionals UK is a community, is an organization that helps various organizations to achieve their diversity and inclusion agenda. Either is from recruitment to organizing events to be able to attract new talent or whatnot. So there's a lot going on in that space. But at Black Scottish Adventurers, we've done a bit of work with RSPB and we've done some volunteering work with them as well. But I think again, it's signposting is very, very important because for some of those underrepresented communities, either they're black or wherever, or they're what's the word I'm looking for wherever place or wherever space they are in society, it's very important to be able to reach them through signposting because for a lot of these folks, most of them don't even know that these organizations exist and they can engage with these organizations. We've done volunteering work with RSPB. We've been to Abaneti Reserve here in Scotland, and we've been to various of the nature reserves as well. So we are aware of that because we are closer to it. But I think signposting is very, very important. A lot more could be done with regards to signposting.
Okay, thank you. Any other strong views on that, or shall I ask another question? Another question. Okay, so Chloe's asked a question. I guess it comes back to a little bit about what you've said, Neil, about, you start a project and you're responsible for it, and it's hard to step away and see it carry on. Have any of you got examples of where you have been able, how you've managed to get other people to take ownership? And the wording that Chloe's using is stewardship as well. So in terms of nature, we want stewards of nature as well. So have you got examples of where you have managed to hand it over?
I could maybe talk a wee bit about, I mean, not completely, but within the Acorn Farm project, the partnership team comprises community organisations and our local authority. And the local authority is going to take stewardship of the kind of the capital aspect of it and, sustain that as things, as the community element fades out, and possibly, we'll find other sources of funding to keep elements going, like the growing and the cooking. But that, local authority partnership has meant that, they can sustain the capital, the infrastructure, the focus, and that's kind of the game changer for us in that way. So that's worked that way.
Thank you. Have you had great examples of handing stuff over, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our projects are sustainable in some of the work that we do. We use the language as well to connect. So we've got game changers, we've got community activators, and that type of language then that we're actually using is all about giving that empowerment. So a lot of our work is about empowering our community. We will support them. The club is there. It's part of that belonging side of things. But it's giving them, I think, a lot of that that's already been mentioned as well, is that awareness and that education around that side of things. I think it is very poor within this community that I work in, particularly, I know funding constraints, but, lots of people go onto the parks and the fields and they just go and play rugby or they play football, and then they walk away from it not knowing what's actually on that area that they're actually participating with. We've also got like areas like Risley Moss, which is probably full of lovely wildlife, and I can't remember the last time I went there, and it's just down the road. So sometimes I think there is a huge disconnect between the council and how they promote things, also some of these national nature bodies as well, to link in with some of them real community groups, because the real community groups aren't going to go to them. They're too busy calling them about not having the bins emptied. or naturists, as they called it, as well. So I think a lot of it's around the language we use, the awareness that we use, and then that education to really drive that sustainability.
Fantastic. And you've answered another questions in doing that, about using the appropriate language, not just going straight in with talking about nature and climate. So lots for us to be learning in this project. Thank you very much, each of you. I think there's lots more information in the chat. We will save the chat and we'll share it with everyone afterwards as well. Let me just try to remove the pins for everybody's benefit, because none of us like being pinned very much. I'm going to remove mine first because that's the hardest. And then I can do Neil's. Remove pin. Sorted. So I'm going to put my slides back up once more. We are delighted that people have chosen to engage and to be here with us today. but we are after a bit of support and a bit of help. So let me do that. Have you got the slides or the notes?
The notes.
The notes. Swap displays again then. Okay, so I showed you earlier on our call to action, our simple mission, which is to attract unusual voices. Now, hopefully, everyone who's here tonight is potentially on board with that. And the way in which you can help us after this session, so it'll probably be tomorrow morning now, given the time of night, we'll share with you a one-page brief of the project, and within that, there's a link to register a community group so that you can be part of this project. So we'd encourage you to, if you are a community leader, to register. If you have an ambition to set up a community, to register, or to pass that on to other community leaders that you know. Because together, I think, the discussions that we just had and the comments and the questions in the chat really does show that we all want to raise awareness of key environmental priorities. And, the nature and environment would be in a better place across the UK and beyond if we could increase people's appetite for engaging, including some of the practical actions that they could be taking. So we really do need your support. This project will flourish if lots of people get engaged. So all we can ask is share the brief with your networks, encourage community leaders to register their interest, sign up yourself if you're representing a community group, or if your children go to Scouts or something else, then please pass on to the Scout leaders. And please do attend our national webinars. Now, at least one person sent me a little message in the chat to say, hey, you should be asking this person to present because they're brilliant. So if you've got ideas of who we should be using to encourage people to engage, who could be speaking at our national webinars, we've still got a few slots free as well. So that would be brilliant. I will stop sharing again. And that's really us. I promised we'd finish on time. We are 3 minutes away. So any final questions, any issues? No. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for engaging. Thank you most of all to our panel, Neil, Shauna, Joshua. I did mention that we had some other panel members here. So thank you for them for joining us. And thank you for whatever reason you took for joining tonight. I'm hoping that the project has made you think, you know what? Yeah, okay, we could do something here. We can support this. So please do spread the word. And we'll be talking about this on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And as I say, we'll be sending you some information afterwards. So if you want to save the chat, if there's anything in there that you want, at the top of the chat bar, there's 3 little dots. Hover over it and it says more. And it gives you the opportunity to save the chat. So if there's anything in there that you want immediately, please do that. We'll save it anyway. And we have recorded this. So we'll watch it back, and the little bits where it's messed up, we'll try and edit them out. And then we'll put it onto YouTube and share a link with you so that you can watch it back. So thank you very much, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening.